You hear it all the time, right? That artificial intelligence is going to solve our biggest problems, maybe even climate change. But what if the solution is also a massive part of the problem? Today, we're looking at the two-sided coin of AI and our environmental goals. And trust me, the story is way more complicated than you might think. Okay, so let's just lay it out there. On one side of the coin, you have this promise that AI is this incredible, critical tool for sustainability. But then you flip it over, and you hear that AI's insane appetite for energy and water is actually creating a whole new environmental crisis. So, which is it? Well, as we're about to see, the answer is it's both. So let's start with the good news, the sunny side of the street. What exactly is the promise of AI when it comes to ESG, environmental, social, and governance goals? And how is it already making a real difference? Well, think about how we used to do this. Tracking a company's environmental impact was messy. It was this manual process, totally reliant on self-reported data that you just had to take on faith. AI blows that all up. It brings a level of data-driven rigor that we've just never had before. We can finally move past these vague corporate promises and see what's actually happening pretty much in real time. And this is how it actually works. AI can sift through literally tens of thousands of sources. We're talking news reports, social media, everything, to automate data collection. It can scan satellite images to see if a company's supply chain is secretly tied to illegal logging. It can make our energy grids way more efficient, cutting down on waste. And for investors, it gives them these powerful tools to see right through corporate greenwashing and find the companies that are actually walking the walk. And look, this isn't just some far-off theory. This is happening right now. Coca-Cola is using AI to scan public data and factory reports, actively hunting for red flags related to things like child labor. Major fashion brands are using it to make sure their leather isn't coming from deforested land. An energy giant like Iberdrola uses AI's predictive power to balance renewable energy with demand, which means less reliance on fossil fuels. It's pretty amazing. Okay, it all sounds incredibly promising. I know, a total game changer. But this is where our story takes a very sharp turn. All of this incredible, powerful analysis requires a staggering amount of computation. And that power, it has a very real, very physical cost. So let's flip the coin. Let's look at the peril, the massive and often totally invisible environmental footprint that AI leaves behind. This chart right here really shows you the scale of the problem. The electricity consumed by data centers all over the world is projected to basically double in just 5 years. To put that 1,000 terawatt-hour number into perspective, that's more electricity than many entire countries consume in a year. And a huge driver of this surge? You guessed it, the massive energy needed to train and run AI models. And here's the crazy part. A huge chunk of that energy isn't even for the computing. It's for cooling. You've got thousands of high-powered chips packed together, and they generate an immense amount of heat. Just keeping them cool can account for up to 40% of a data center's total energy bill. And it's not just electricity. We have to talk about water. A single large data center can gulp down up to 1 million gallons of fresh water every single day, just for cooling its equipment. This puts an enormous strain on local water supplies, especially in places that are already struggling with water stress. But the impact goes way beyond the data center itself. We have to start thinking about this concept called algorithmically facilitated emissions. This is when an AI, say in a search engine or an e-commerce site, subtly pushes us toward higher carbon choices. It might show you a flight before a train ticket or a brand new product instead of a secondhand one. The tech companies never get blamed for those emissions, but their algorithms are shaping our behavior on a massive global scale. And to make this really concrete, check out this analysis from Mistral AI. It's one of the first of its kind. Over its entire life cycle, and that includes manufacturing the servers, their Large 2 model was responsible for over 20 kilotons of CO2 emissions and used 281,000 cubic meters of water. These numbers make the abstract costs of AI very, very real. So this brings us right to the heart of the matter. We have this incredibly powerful tool for good, but its own footprint is becoming a massive problem. How do we solve this? How do we get all the benefits of AI without just accelerating the climate crisis? Well, the good news is there is a path forward. Now, it's not easy, and it's going to require action on a whole lot of fronts, but there are clear strategies for building a much more sustainable AI. The solution seems to rest on these 4 key pillars. First, it starts with governance and transparency. Then it requires some major technological innovation. Of course, it depends on meaningful corporate action. And finally, it involves us, the users, demanding better from these companies. Now, on the technology side, there's some really cool stuff happening. Chip makers are in an arms race to improve energy efficiency. Researchers are developing smarter, leaner algorithms that can do more with less power. And there's this growing understanding that bigger isn't always better. Just choosing the right-sized AI model for the job, instead of just grabbing the biggest one, can have a huge impact. And we are seeing companies start to step up. On the infrastructure side, you've got a company like Meta completely rethinking how data centers are even built, using things like low-carbon concrete and powering them with renewables. And then on the transparency side, Mistral AI's decision to just publish its model's entire environmental footprint, well, that's a huge step toward creating accountability for the whole industry. Ultimately, all of these efforts are pointing to a larger shift in how we think about this tech. It's a move towards something called human-centered AI. And this is a really powerful idea. It basically means we stop building technology just for the sake of it, and we start asking, how can this truly serve humanity and the planet? At the end of the day, we just have to shift our thinking. The race can't just be about building the machine bigger, faster, and stronger. We have to constantly take a step back and ask a much more fundamental question. For what purpose? That is the question. And it's the one we have to answer if we want to make sure AI actually fulfills its promise as a tool for a better world, instead of just becoming another chapter in our environmental crisis.